Thank you. Director, last year, towards the end of the year, we heard about TCI, Transportation Climate Initiative. And at that time, the governor seemed to be very much on board with signing on to this initiative, and then she wasn't. And the 6 other New England governors all seemed to have an interest in it, and then they didn't. Is this an end run around that particular piece of legislation in order, or that particular proposal, in order to, instead of adopting that particular proposal that was put out there to the 6 New England governors, to instead go with a piece of legislation such as this?
Is this on? Yes. Thank you for your question. No, it's not an end run, but I'd like to address 2 aspects of your question. I don't believe your characterization is accurate about the governor and the other governors. I've been involved in TCI discussions starting with when I worked with Senator Lincoln Chafee, and it's been an ongoing conversation because it's very difficult for Rhode Island to achieve the targets in this bill in the transportation sector on our own. They're mobile sources, and just like we did with the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, if we work as a region, we can have a lot more impact. So the governor has been involved in these conversations with other governors and continues to be involved in them. There was no, her support hasn't wavered, but the conversations and the design of the system is something that we're continuing to work on. We just closed a comment period where we had over 10,000 comments come in, and I was actually on a call today with all the other states, Maryland, North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, my counterparts talking about this. We haven't put it forward as a done proposal yet because we're still working on it, but Governor Raimondo continues to think that a regional effort, given the complete lack of leadership at the national level, is necessary to reduce transportation emissions.
I specifically I have an article here from Rhode Island that was entitled back on December the 25th, 2019, New England states mostly quiet on the Transportation Climate Initiative. So, and then it does speak specifically to each of the governors, right, and the lack of action that was taken on that.
It's not just there was no specific action required. And so with all due respect to Rhode Island, I'm involved in these conversations with my counterparts in all the different states, and we are taking action just as you do when you're building something important, and it sometimes takes years to design it and to roll it out. So we're still working with those other governors, with the exception of Governor Sununu in New Hampshire, who dropped out of it.
Also, you mentioned in your testimony, state agencies need to have the authority to take action, and specifically, you need them to be able to invest in coming up with the solutions. If, in fact, that authority is granted in this piece of legislation, are you looking to take action without bringing any of that to the legislature, which normally would have the ultimate say and approval on something such as this?
Right. So I think just as with the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, which was done as a regional initiative, but each state enacted it at their state level, something as big and important as the Transportation Climate Initiative would need to come to the General Assembly. It would involve collecting the proceeds on the sale of allowances in a market on fuels for transportation, and then investing those, ideally, in solutions that would reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the transportation sector. So I think that would need to come to the General Assembly. The other part of my statement, though, is I don't know how you could pass a bill with really ambitious targets without giving the state agencies authority to take action to achieve that. I do not believe we could meet the targets in that bill with our existing authority.
And that's what I'm wondering about. Under this resiliency legislation, if in fact we grant that authority to the Department of Environmental Management and any of the other agencies responsible, ultimately, would you be coming back to the legislature at any point in that process seeking our approval? Or is this basically, are we ceding our authority as a General Assembly to the Department of Environmental Management?
Well, I think that the way that branches of government work, you're usually enacting legislation and then asking us to promulgate regulations to implement it at a more fine-tuned level. So whether it's fisheries or beach parking fees, there's issues that we handle in a regulatory way. And when you don't like it, you often get involved. But I don't think you're ceding authority. I think that's really the way that things work between the three branches.
Thank you.